Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome back to another debate debrief. Today, we're joined by Mayor Mike Murphy of Lexington. Thank you so much for being with us.
Kyle, thank you.
Absolutely. So, as the viewers know, we've extended this invitation to all the candidates. Mayor Murphy is the second person that we're interviewing, and we're looking forward to the conversation.
Me too.
So, right off the bat, let's just hear closing remarks, part two. What's your overall impression of how the debate went?
It was a good debate, a beautiful place. I'd like to thank everybody who put that on. Especially Providence Hall for hosting that, you guys, the Patriot, Hugh Hewitt for coming, and the Family Research Council. It was great. It felt good. You know, one question that hit me pretty hard in the gut was the faith one. Obviously, I discussed that with reeling with the death of my mom still has me questioning a lot of things, but that's normal.
Yeah,
and
that was a uniquely human moment. I mean,
we
don't see that very much on stage from candidates, and it was a very humanizing moment of vulnerability.
It was, yeah. I called an audible in my head at the last second because I was like, okay, I've answered this question 100 million times, and all of a sudden it's just like, if I answer it the way I usually do, I feel like I'm lying to everybody. So I called an audible, fumbled over it, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to come back to it and really say what I was feeling. But all in all, I feel it was successful. It was great. People responded to me well. I got good compliments afterwards, and
sure.
Of course, the liberal media picked it up, as you know, and
yeah, that first question right out of the gate. The first question we heard was about, as the viewers remember, election fraud. Hugh Hewitt asked if you guys believe in the results of the 2020 election. Effectively, the national media's run with that, saying that Minnesota Republicans don't trust the electoral process. It hasn't been a great look for anyone who was on stage. What are your thoughts about that question?
If we're not questioning voter integrity in trying to secure our elections, then what's the point? Because having elections is what makes this country. It's how we choose our leaders, and we have to know that they're free and fair, they're honest, they're truthful. And if there is any question of voter fraud or any malpractice with the elections, we have to investigate it and look into it. And I want to clarify one of my points, that there are statements that I made because I said, no, I can't pinpoint the evidence, because I can't.
Right.
Because there is so much stuff that went on across the entire country. And then, of course, CNN is using the thing, well, there was only 642 cases, according to the Associated Press article that came out, I think it was, of potential voter fraud. Well, all we had was one case, and that was the national news media, the DFL, the Democrat Party, orchestrating this massive change in our election system in 2020.
Right.
That was the one case of voter fraud that we had that changed everything, right? Mail-in balloting, absentee signature verification removals, literally putting ballot boxes in street corners where people could just dump ballots in, people receiving mail-in ballots 5, 6, 7 times, dead people on the voting rolls. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Zuckerberg pumping $350 million into the election.
Yeah. So that's the one case, and it was orchestrated by one organization, and that was the Democrats and the radical left.
Right.
The other cases, are just probably general, everyday cases of voter fraud that people are doing.
Right. Do you think this will continue to be an important issue when somebody gets the nomination and they're running against Governor Walz? Because it seems like the liberals like to use this as an attack avenue, and conservatives are just trying to say what you just said. Look, we need to ask these questions, but as soon as you ask the questions, they call you a conspiracy theorist. How do you plan to address that if you're facing off against Governor Walz?
Yeah, well, I'm really hoping that we have more evidence come out, that we have more facts. If we can't explain what happened in 30 seconds or less, people are going to think, we're just nut jobs spewing off conspiracy theories, just like the Democrat Governors Association called me a QAnon supporter, which, whatever. I mean, if you want to do that and give me the free press, that's fine, but... Yes, it is an issue because so many people feel extremely disenfranchised, that their vote does not count. So why do they want to participate in the process? And we need to let those people know that you have to participate in the process. You have to continue to fight for this country, and that's how you do it at the ballot box. I mean, we're not going to take up arms and start a revolution, right? That's nonsense. I don't want that.
Right.
So we have
not
to
a violent guy.
No, we have to fight back at the ballot box. So we need those people who are upset to come back. I hope that we have more evidence, we have more of a clear path, but I'm going to continue talking about it. What Ilhan Omar did with Project Veritas when she was exposed, I mean, that right there shows that there is fraud, an attempt of fraud. Granted, Omar wasn't doing it directly herself, but come on, and I mean, she knows it's happening. Right?
Two heads of the same snake kind of thing.
And I just don't understand what their problem is with accountability and transparency. Let's have the investigation. Let's lay it out on the table, but they refuse to do it.
Absolutely. And then we see when you ask these questions, the entire national media reacts to one question that was asked in a local primary debate.
Yeah.
They're afraid of this question. They don't like when it's discussed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to clarify, we talked about that first question, but I want to talk now about pro-life. You faced a little bit of criticism online about your response to the pro-life question. You used the phrase right to choose.
Yeah.
What specifically did you mean by that?
Yeah, so I believe my time was cut short on that one. I can't remember if that was right before we went to the break or not.
Right.
But right to choose is an overall the medical freedom. And I should have elaborated on that. I am 100% pro-life.
Gotcha.
I've met with National Right to Life in D.C. with Karen Cross. I have her support. She has my support with her organization.
Awesome.
The day before, I just met with MCCL. We had a great hour-and-a-half meeting. I filled out their survey, scored 100% on it. So I'm 100% pro-life.
Awesome.
We're going to clear that right now. But the right to choose, I should have followed it up with when it comes to the vaccine mandates and when it comes to forced vaccinations.
Right.
You have your own medical freedom to choose what you want. But when it comes to human life, that's a completely different thing.
I see what you're saying. So when it comes to health more broadly, we have a right to choose if you want to take some COVID injection or not. But when it comes to abortion, we need to protect the sanctity of life.
Correct.
That's a pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Pretty straightforward position.
Absolutely. So I do apologize if anybody took that the wrong way, because I did receive some Twitter messages, some Facebook messages like, well, are you pro-choice? Because you got me confused. But therefore, 100% pro-life.
Awesome. All in all, how was your engagement with Minnesota Ben after the debate? What are you hearing in terms of feedback? What did people appreciate?
The grassroots, energized, fired up again. They're ready to mobilize and take the state back because, in my opinion, I am the grassroots candidate. I'm an everyday Minnesotan. I just say what's on my mind and speak, and the interactions have been good. I'm thankful that the Communist News Network picked up the post, and the DGA has given us a hard time because that means that we're a threat to them.
Right.
That we're doing something. The KSTP poll that came out after the debate that Tom Hauser moderated last week has me leading independents by 3 points. I actually have the most Democrat support, believe it or not, I believe. And then I'm 1 point above Scott Jensen on Tim Walz. So, I mean, that was the people spoke on that one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just random phone calls, random polling. So it's feeling good. We're not going to stop.
It makes a lot of sense. I don't want to put you on the spot to blast anyone specifically, but one of the main features of the debate was, of course, Jensen and Gazelka sparring. What were your thoughts on those interactions?
I mean, it's not the first time they've been doing that at every debate that we've had.
Yeah.
I've actually had to cut them off before. This isn't the Jensen and Gazelka show, right?
Yeah.
Of course they're going to butt heads because they're driving for that same position to who's the most establishment candidate. It's you got three senators.
You
up
see
there.
them both as establishment?
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you see Mary Benson as establishment also?
Michelle, you mean?
Yeah, of course.
Michelle? Not so much. I like Michelle a lot.
Right.
I think she's a great legislator. She's done a phenomenal job in the Senate, but I just don't feel the fight in her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I think, if she became governor, I think she would do the right thing, and I think she'd be a great governor. But obviously, I want the position. So.
Yeah. What do you make of Dr. Shaw? What's your impression of him?
I think he's very well rehearsed, very well spoken. Almost like he practices lines in the mirror and memorizes them before he performs.
Yeah.
He's got great charisma, which is a benefit to him, which people eat up and buy. But nobody really knows much about him. He's got some questionable donor history with the DFL and Tim Walz. It's hard to say. I don't like to talk bad about anybody because I'm not that type of person to stab anybody in the back. But I just don't see him winning. I don't feel like his message is going to resonate with everybody across the state.
Sure.
And a lot of people have said to me, he just doesn't feel genuine. You know what I mean? So.
Would you regard yourself as more of a populist? Because the way I hear you speak and the way I see you interact with people, it's very sort of man of the people, grassroots, like you've suggested. Yeah. Do you align more with that Trumpian streak of the Republican Party?
Yes and no, I would say.
Okay.
I love President Trump and what he did for our country.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, he's a billionaire, right? He's always had that mentality, the populist mentality, which is great. And he did great things for our country. He really did. Energy independence, the lower taxes, fighting back against, China and Russia, and all the countries that hate our guts. But I don't want to be a populist leader. I don't think we should take our elected officials and put them on that higher pedestal that they're kings and leaders and we have to bow down to, and we're just everyday folks that are elected to represent the people. And that's exactly what I want to do. I just want to be the voice of the people. That's it. And I want to listen to those people. And I want to, help out and spread their message. And so yes and no on the Trump question. And, if he wants to endorse me, I think that'd be great. Phenomenal. I'll take it. All day. I went to every rally that he had here. And, he's a great man. He's a great president, great leader for our country. And he really woke us up.
For sure.
One of my
He definitely changed the direction of the conversation.
Did. And one of his best quotes that I love is, they're not after me, they're after you, and I'm just in their way.
I love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's exactly it. I mean, he exposed the crime and corruption of the big media. He exposed what the far left is trying to do to fundamentally change our country. I just want to be left alone like anybody else. I just want to live my life in this country and have my freedoms, pay the taxes that I'm supposed to pay and not be taxed to death, not be told what to do, where to be, where I have to work, what shot to take, what mask to wear, none of that. That's not why we're here.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit more about your background. Of course, you're the mayor of Lexington, although many of our viewers, many Minnesotans didn't know a ton about you until the debate, but they're interested now. Explain your background to us a little bit.
I grew up in Coon Rapids, moved a little north to Oak Grove, then I lived in Minneapolis, I've lived in Mankato. Went to school for law enforcement, worked in law enforcement for a few years till I hurt my back. I was off duty, hunting accident, actually, stupid tree stand problem.
They'll get you. The gravity works.
Gravity. It was 3 herniated discs. It was a couple-year recovery from that, so I went into small business, and, this was 16 years ago now.
Sure.
So,
what motivated you to take that leap into politics?
Getting sick and tired of nothing getting done, right? So when I moved to Lexington in 2014 from Minneapolis, which is in southern Anoka County, we're not a huge town, right? But we're surrounded by Blaine, Lino Lakes. We're going to hit 5,000-ish people this year, but we face all the same problems big cities do. We have to make the same decisions big cities do. It's not like we're out in the country.
You're not rural.
We're here. We have to face the the challenges and the policies that the Met Council tries to shove down our mouths.
As Minneapolis goes, so does Lexington.
Exactly. So we have those big problems, but I just wanted to get involved and do something. My wife was like, okay, stop complaining, get off the couch, go fix stuff. And that's what I did, ran as a write-in candidate, which I won, which is cool. And then
that is cool.
The mayor in 2019 resigned his position. I was voted in by the council, took over. And then ran for re-election unopposed and won.
Awesome.
Obviously unopposed, but but nobody wanted to challenge me. But we've done good things. Second Amendment Sanctuary City Resolution.
Tell us about that, because you mentioned that. How does that work?
We have Second Amendment counties. But getting Anoka County 100% on board is going to be a challenge.
It'll be difficult.
I know a few of the commissioners have tried, but pulling everybody that direction is going to be hard to get there. But so I decided, let's make it a city. And hopefully we can have other cities do the same thing, which now I think there's been maybe a dozen cities across the state that have followed suit. But it basically means we're going to protect your Second Amendment rights at all costs. We're not going to use resources, police or city, to enforce any unconstitutional Second Amendment.
So did you have to get your city police on board with that before you passed the measure?
I'm trying to think now. Yeah, we did talk to our police chief about it, obviously, and we have a great police department, phenomenal police officers, phenomenal police chief. Everybody there is great. So I believe he was on board 100%. I can't remember or not. He wasn't at the meeting, but every member of the council was. They all voted for it, so it was unanimous. It passed. But it's basically you hear the left talk about their sanctuary city for illegal aliens. We're a sanctuary city for your Second Amendment rights.
Right.
Yeah, so it's great.
Would you make a similar attempt if you become governor of Minnesota to ward off federal gun control?
Absolutely. I will be relentless protecting the Second Amendment. We should have a constitutional carry state and a stand your ground bill. Criminals are running rampant right now. We have a duty to retreat under current law, which is ridiculous that I have to run away from somebody pointing a gun at me trying to steal my car.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's like literally 3 carjackings a day almost in Minneapolis. victims are defenseless.
Yeah, and this whole notion of, somebody breaks into your house, I'm supposed to go hide in a closet or something, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to...
Will they ransack your house, endanger your family?
Yeah, castle doctrine is very important. You have to be able to protect your family and your property.
Sure.
Now, with that, I'm not suggesting that it's a license to shoot people. Like, we need to be responsible citizens to each other. But if you're under fire or under attack or your life is threatened, you have every right to defend yourself. That is a God-given right.
Right.
Whether you did it with a gun or not, there are other means to protect yourself, and we should be able to do that. But we have good gun laws that are on the books. They're just not being enforced. And criminals are being let out early. That's why we had the truck stop shooting, which also happened to be the same judge, coincidentally, that Tim Walz appointed, and then a few months later removed the absentee ballot verification requirements.
This was something you talked about during the debate. You said that you're going to get rid of the bad judges and fill up that empty prison in Appleton, Minnesota with the hardened criminals. That was a strong stance. Everyone took a strong stance. You might have taken the strongest stance. Tell us more about what your plans for law enforcement, specifically those judges, would be.
Yeah, so, any judge that we can... And let me be clear, it's not that I want to go after liberal judges. Like, I'm not going to specifically target you for your political ideologies.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm going to do. It's not like I'm going to clean house because you got a D next to your name. It's let's look at what you've been doing. Let's look at how you are treating the citizens of this state. Judges should be originalists. They should be black and white. The law isn't political.
Right.
And people need to start treating the law that way again. But to combat this crime, we're going to have to use the bully pulpit of the governor's office. We have to call out the John Choys of the world in Ramsey County for saying, well, if you get pulled over for a minor traffic violation and you got an illegal gun in your car or a trunk full of heroin, guess what? You get to go have a nice day. See you later. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We've caught some of the most violent criminals and serial killers in this world because of a taillight.
Yeah. Oklahoma City bomber.
Exactly.
Literally busted on a taillight.
It's the job of law enforcement to enforce laws and protect the people, and it's the job of the government to make sure that's being done correctly and to protect the citizens. And allowing these criminals to continue to roam free makes absolutely no sense. It just creates another wedge, another course of anarchy and division while they're doing all this other stuff in the background, or they're using COVID as a driving force to create more division and anarchy. It never stops. Never stops. And law and order shouldn't be a political issue.
It should not be a right-wing issue. I agree. Everybody should we all thrive better under law and order.
We do.
Yeah.
We have to have a civilized society.
Absolutely.
And when we're civilized, we're all working together. But right now, we're so at each other's throats. Republicans are mad at Republicans, and independents are running around going, hey, I have a voice too, but nobody's listening to me. And then you have the Democrats and the far left and the far right, the 1% on each side are making the most noise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very frustrating.
And it is. And, the people in Minneapolis are sending letters to Walz, send in the National Guard, State Patrol, help us. They're not doing that.
Right.
I don't know if you got a chance to watch one of the videos I put out where we clipped together some of the news clips from this past year, talking about the murders and the shootings and the letters that people have sent to Governor Walz and begged them for help. And it's just, he's nowhere.
Yeah. Absentee governor.
Yeah, and so is Keith Ellison. He's our chief law enforcement officer in the state.
Yeah.
Where's Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington? He's the top cop. Where is he? Right?
I was downtown when Minneapolis burned, and for 36 hours it was completely unopposed. It was fires and gunshots and people dying and people stabbing each other and people losing their generational wealth as their businesses are burned down. And the governor was absent, Keith Ellison was absent, the police in large part were absent. It was very tragic. Staying on the topic of law enforcement but pivoting a little bit, one question that I wanted to ask in the debate but we ran out of time was about people that have been sent to jail for disobeying Walz's COVID orders.
Yes.
A lady who owns a restaurant in Albert Lee was recently jailed. If you become governor, would you consider pardoning those individuals?
Absolutely. I've had good conversations with Lisa. Tonight, actually, I'm launching, not that I'm trying to give myself an old plug here,
Sure. Go ahead, though.
My own live streaming podcast. I'm the only candidate that's going to be doing it.
Where can people watch that?
Right on my Facebook, YouTube channel, Twitter. It's going to be broadcasted out. But we're going to be doing that starting tonight. We're actually going to have Keith Haskell, who's Lisa Hansen's family spokesman. We're going to have him on tonight, and we're going to talk about everything.
What time?
7 o'clock tonight.
That'll be very interesting.
Yep. So the link's already up on my Facebook and YouTube. So Alpha News wants to share it. That'd be great.
No, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, but so we're going to talk about that because that was an example of a bad judge and a bad prosecutor.
Right.
The prosecutor asked for 9 days. She ended up getting 10 times that, 90.
Yeah. How does that happen? Should that even be possible?
It really shouldn't be, but I mean, it's within the sentencing guidelines, I believe. So the judge has that power to do that. But the prosecutor represents the state, the people, and that's what the prosecutor asked for. So it would have been nice that the judge would have complied with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like she was made into a political example.
Right.
You know, she's a political prisoner.
Yeah.
Just like we have political prisoners for the January 6th so-called insurrection.
Correct.
That are stuck in concrete cells 23 hours a day because
Yeah.
they just happen to be in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen, right? I mean,
Correct.
what happened there was tragic and bad. I mean, Alicia Babbitt was killed. Nothing
Yes.
ever happened with that. Now, if Alicia Babbitt was, a different race, and, the whole entire world would have been lit on fire for that.
Yes.
Fact of the matter is, Alicia was there. She probably shouldn't have been breaking down a window. People probably shouldn't have gone into the Capitol.
Right.
But we all know, we've seen videos, of BLM and Antifa people there inspiring those events and stuff like that. But to get back on topic, yes, I will pardon her and everybody else and make sure that they get their fines and money back. Because executive orders should not be treated like law like that.
Right.
It's just crazy.
How would you use executive orders as governor?
As little as possible, unless I absolutely have to.
Right. Tornadoes, this kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to need to use them to get stuff done at the executive level, but it shouldn't transform or set an agenda for an entire state.
Yeah.
There are times that it's going to be needed to be used.
Right.
Emergencies, declarations. If you can't get stuff done in the House and the Senate and we need to get things moving, yes, we'll use them, but I will never use them to rule like a king like Tim did.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why we have Lisa Hansons that are being imprisoned for feeding her family and surviving over his rules. And now we know, I believe you guys were the ones that broke the story, right? Regarding contact tracing.
Yeah, a gentleman, you know who you are, sent us a document
Yeah.
that he had FOIA'd for that showed that the contact tracers did not ask for data about big box stores, about places that they left
Exactly.
open. They only asked for the data about the places that they wanted to close, about the bars, the restaurants, the churches, the concerts. And you can only find what you're looking for. And if you're only looking for COVID cases in these locations, of course those will be the locations that you close because you're not asking for anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, people got COVID going to Walmart. People got COVID going to Home Depot.
But the
people,
state chose to ignore it.
Yeah, and people got COVID going to the candy store, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
come on. The fact of the matter is it should have never been handled the way it was.
Right.
And then we shouldn't be jailing and heavily fining individuals for choosing their family and freedoms and their livelihoods over dictatorial powers.
Absolutely.
It should have never came to that. There's other ways to manage that. And I believe the small businesses were in a better position to manage COVID because they have smaller locations. They can easily limit the people that were coming in and out of their stores. It's easier for them to clean and disinfect. It's set up appointments, but no, it's just you're closed. It's like you can't get a haircut. You can't get your dog groomed. You can't go to the dentist. You can't do this. But it's funny. I was watching some of the media clippings from this a year ago, just looking into it some more, and it's just funny watching the timeline of opening it up.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay now. The golf courses, you can go cut your lawn, and the golf courses can now cut the grass and the lawns.
Isn't it bizarre that we've been doing this for 2 years?
I know.
I have to pinch myself sometimes. I think for the last 18 months, the government's been telling me where and I can shop and not shop.
I know.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
But it made me laugh because I was like, oh, cool. Governor Walz says that the lawn care services can open up again now because, sitting on a riding lawnmower all by yourself, and you're just going to drop dead. That's right. And
grass-borne COVID is very deadly.
It is. But, I mean, I had COVID. It sucked. It was terrible. It smelled burning for 3 weeks after it. But, I have an immune system.
Right.
Just like everybody else does, natural immunity.
Right.
I mean, if you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. But I'm certainly not going to tell you to do it. I will never mandate it. I mean, that's between you and your doctor, your God, to choose that. That's health freedom. And
it's the right to choose.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for throwing that back in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
turning to a different set of powers that'd be big tech. Governor Ron DeSantis was widely praised for his big tech bill earlier this year. Some complained that it lacks teeth, but it remains a landmark achievement. How would you interact with big tech in Minnesota?
Man, exactly how he's doing it.
Sure.
I mean, he's leading by example. And the more Republican governors that we get to stand up to do that, the more change we can create and have. I'm a firm believer that the only way that we're going to save our country is saving our states.
Yeah.
We start taking Minnesota's back, and we start taking Georgia's back, and we start taking all the blue states back. We can actually have that convention of states.
That's something you support.
I do.
Sure. How do you answer? I was just reading about this yesterday. It's perfect that you bring it up.
Yeah.
A lot of people are concerned that if we have a convention of states, then the people who are presently not following the Constitution have the opportunity to rewrite it, and that could be disastrous.
It's true. Yeah.
How, under a convention of states, would you ensure that we're actually crafting a document that's better or that's going to be followed?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. I guess I've never ran that one through my head before. I think we're going to have to listen to everybody's input on that.
Yeah.
And figure out, hey, is this really going to fundamentally change us? But are we ever going to get to that point, do you think, where we're going to be able to have that as the question?
Right. We have to start retaking the Minnesotas and the Georgias
and will it
first.
be managed correctly?
Yeah.
I want to come back and circle back to you with that and exactly get the correct answer that I want to say without giving the wrong, But yeah, it is a good point. I guess I've never thought about that.
Sure. I appreciate this because a lot of leaders, they would lie. They would come up with some answer that's not true.
I don't do that.
This.
I'm genuine, man. I mean, it's impossible for somebody to know everything.
Right, and people who pretend to are very dangerous. They're tyrants like Governor Walz.
And you have to surround yourself with people that know more than you.
Yeah.
Because there are people that know more than you, right?
This is true.
And then you have to align yourself with people that oppose you as well, because you have to have all of the viewpoints. You have to have the positives, the negatives, the different ways of looking at stuff in order to make good decisions. That's what good leaders do.
Speaking of that, surrounding yourselves with the right voices, the right people. Again, I don't mean to put anybody on the spot. How do you regard the current state of the Republican Party and the current powers that be on the right in Minnesota? How would you interact with them as governor?
We would have to definitely work together. I don't think I'm anybody's favorite candidate right now when it comes to the Republican Party in Minnesota or current elected state leaders and things like that, because I am the political outsider that wants to get in there and get stuff done. And they're so used to a certain way of things being done, and it's been done this way forever. And it's the establishment. I'm the anti-establishment candidate. I'm the pro-freedom, conservative, constitutional candidate, right? I don't dislike anybody. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not enemies with anybody. I'm not out here to make enemies with anybody, but I'm also here not to make friends with anybody.
This is the benefit of being an outsider.
Yeah.
You don't have long-standing allies, but you also don't have entrenched foes either.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not doing this to bump elbows. I'm not doing this to make a name for myself. I'm not doing it for the perks. I could care less about the money. I'd probably donate the governor's salary anyways because I'm not motivated by it.
Yeah.
I am not motivated by it.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
I want to fix my state. I love it. I don't want to move to Florida's or Texas. I don't want to do that as much as I like warm weather and the beach, right? But I still love ice fishing.
Isn't it so depressing, though? We've got these people that are legacy Midwesterners, and they're having to leave their home region, their home state, their hometown, uproot their families to go find a little bit of liberty somewhere else.
No.
It's so depressing.
Yeah, it is. But I do have faith. I do have faith in our new chairman that he's going to do the right thing. He's going to get us back on track.
Yeah.
He's,
he seems like a good guy. We interviewed him earlier. He seems like a solid guy.
I've only met him a handful of times. Obviously, we don't really know each other well, but I mean, when he was a legislator, he did good things, and he's got a good conservative rating, if I remember correctly, with the ACU, which is important. And I think that he's the man for the job, and I think he can really get this back on track. It's all about messaging. It's all about timing. It's all about strategic planning in order to win this. It's just we can't just go in there and start throwing stuff at a wall and hope that it sticks.
For sure. So I got to ask some questions on the debate stage. I got to ask some questions here. Is there anything that you haven't been asked yet that you'd like to express before you wrap?
Man, I can't really think of anything. I think we covered pretty much
all
of it. I hope we can come back and sit down and do this again. That would be great.
Yeah, our doors are always open to any of the candidates, to any Minnesota Republican or liberal or Democrat. Anybody who wants to come in and talk, you're always welcome.
Yeah. Awesome. And, actually one comment I would like to make is, again, thank you, CNN, and thank you to the DGA for turning me into a villain. I appreciate the free media attention. It means a lot to me.
Absolutely. All press is good press.
If I could play you back some of the voicemails that I've received today from people, it's amazing. Those crazy woke liberals will literally go out of their way to tell you that they hate your guts. And that's what motivates me the most. Yeah. It really does, because it's like, I know I'm not wrong. Right. You're a victim. of the institution, and I feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I don't.
It means something. I think Churchill said something to the effect of, you're succeeding when you've made the right enemies.
Exactly.
When you're
right?
upsetting the right people, you're
Yeah.
advocating the truth.
But yeah, no, it was a great event. I'm glad it was held. I'm glad it happened. I know I wasn't invited at first, but I do appreciate that invite from everybody
We're very
that came
glad
down
you
the
were
line.
involved.
And I want to thank my supporters for reaching out and saying, hey, Mike should be at that debate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does. It means a lot. You guys are doing a great job at Alpha, and keep it up, because, I mean, in this state, we don't have a lot of good conservative, truth, honest news. And we need to have that voice.
Absolutely.
So.
If people want to keep up with you, follow your new show, where can they do that? How can they stay involved?
Yeah, Facebook, all the social handles on socialist media. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It's at Mike Murphy 4MN. Also
Number 4?
FOR.
Okay, at Mike
FOR.
Murphy, FORMN.
Yep, and then website's the same thing, MikeMurphy4MN.com. And then sign up for my emails. It's usually the best way that we like to send stuff out. I don't like to spend a lot of money with Zuckerberg on advertisements and stuff like that. I don't want to give him any more dollars.
Right,
you know
he's got
I mean?
enough bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, and we could always use donations too as well. So your support there would be great. We are the grassroots people, and we're getting donations. Fundraising is good, support's good, everything's growing. But volunteers, delegates, anything like that, we're a growing campaign.
Of course, Mayor. Thank you so much for being
thanks,
with
Kyle.
us. Awesome.
Yeah.